Hey guys, it's Brendan. By the way, that audio guide today, I'm going to be talking to you about low latency and how that affects you when you're recording. So first of all, what is latency? Well, it's the time that it takes your signal to travel through your microphone or your interface into your computer, process, and then back out, whether that's your speakers or your headphones. Now, what effect does that have on you? Well, if you've ever tried to record yourself talking and you can hear yourself echoing back and it sounds like there's two of you, or you play on your keyboard and it's delayed and that's not actually how you're playing it, well, that's caused by latency. So how do we reduce that? Well, I'll show you a couple of ways. The first thing that we need to do is make sure that we engage low latency mode. So in Logic, over here in your toolbar, if it's not showing up, right-click, do Customize Control Bar, and then right here, click Low Latency Mode. Then you get this little speedometer thing that pops up, and when it's engaged, it turns this orange color. Okay, disengage, not orange. Now, why not always leave it on? Well, the way that low latency mode works is it disengages some things in certain plugins, whether that means it's not as loud as it normally is, or it's not playing as many harmonics or voices as it normally does. Now, where that starts affecting your music is when you get to mixing stage. So if you're mixing and low latency mode is turned on, then you could be mixing according to how that instrument sounds without that plugin or without the maximum volume that's coming out of your instrument. And that could be very dangerous because you could mix a whole song based around that original volume that was starting out on. So make sure that you only have low latency mode on when you're tracking. So only have that on when you're recording, and then turn it off as soon as you start doing other things like adding plugins or getting into mixing. Now that that's engaged, let's listen to our voice with it on. So, hello, this is me with low latency. So you've probably noticed that there's still a little bit of that lag and that weird ghost, like double type effect. Well, one way to knock that down is you head over here to Logic Pro X Audio. And then right here, I/O buffer size. What in the world does that mean? Well, basically that means the amount of processing power that you're giving your CPU. Now, why not always have that at a mode where your latency is efficient? Well, the more samples and the more buffer size you give your computer, the easier it can process the amount of plugins, the number of software instruments, and all those things. So if you want ultra low latency during tracking, then you want to make sure that this is at a lower buffer. But if you start running into problems like popping, or your computer keeps hanging up and you keep getting overload messages, then you may want to consider changing your buffer size. So if you look right here, it says resulting latency, 50.7 milliseconds. If you go down, 15.9, 10, 7, 5.7, right? So you can tell that it lowers it, but again, it's the amount of power that you can give to your computer. Now there's another thing that you can do, and that is changing your rewire behavior. So if you click on here and do live mode, then that again helps your computer in other ways to increase the amount of ability that you have while you're tracking live compared to while you're doing a huge mix with a bunch of plugins. So I have mine set up on playback mode. As you can see, it's less CPU, and I have mine at the largest buffer size because I do a lot of my work mixing. But when a vocalist comes in, I usually like to start at 256 and change this to either live mode or off. Now, what if that is still not working and your vocalist is still upset with you? Well, if you have an audio interface and your interface has a program that comes with it, then you can access that program and see if it has an input monitoring. Or depending on your interface, it may have a button on the front that says input monitoring. So you can push that, and basically what that is that says, okay, whatever signal is coming in, that's going immediately back into the headphones. I'm not going into the computer and then to the headphones. I'm going from mic in back to the headphones. A disadvantage to that could be that if the vocalist wants a little bit of compression or reverb, if you don't have a piece of gear that's hardware that is a compressor or a reverb, then it's a little bit hard to do that if you're only routing through your interface. So on my interface, I've got the Symphony, but I believe all Apogee devices use this thing. So you can head over here to Output Routing and then Mixer, and that will route the thing directly into the interface and then right back out to the headphones. So again, according to your interface, whether that's a button on the front or on the back. I know this sounds like a lot of information to take in, but it's just something to be aware of, and it's something that you want to make sure you're understanding a little bit how it's working, or else, if you have someone coming in or even yourself, you're trying to track and it's still so bugging you that it's delayed, then you want to make sure that you know how to fix those things. Experiment with the different numbers so you can kind of figure out what works best for you. Check out the other videos so you can become an audio pro. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Make sure you check out the website and sign up there. Check out the email list where we'll send you exclusive stuff. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so we can update you on more videos that are coming. Thanks, guys, and I will see you soon.